Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and continuing with our Guinevere project. If you haven't seen already, there's a couple of videos already up. The Guinevere is a project in conjunction with the CoolKatz where you can get a kit with the cover, the tape, some plastic and some written instructions as well, how to construct this little landscape album. And in each of my videos now, I'm going to be showing you how you can decorate some of your pages. In the last video, we covered the cover and we did page 1. So now it's time to move on to page 2, which is a swivel closure pocket, which is nice and deep there. And this looks like it's just a regular pocket, but when you open it up, it's actually a slider with room for 6x4 photos on each side. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to do the cutting for page 2. So page 2 now will be on the back. If you remember in the last video, we marked it so we know what we're doing. So page 2, we're going to start with a pocket, which is 6.5 by 7.25. And then from this piece, we're going to cut a piece which is 6.25 by 3. So let's just do page 3 first. So let's bring in our scoreboard. So with our 6.5 at the top, we are going to score at 1/2 inch. And with our 7.25 along top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Rotate it 180 degrees and 1/2 inch again. So we've now scored 3 sides. And with the smaller piece, we're just going to put the 3 across the top and score down at 1/2 inch. I'm going to use a corner rounder on this piece. So my 1/2 inch is this side. I'm just going to use a large corner rounder on here. Now the beauty of this one is I've got all 3 sizes on the same punch. So I don't need another punch now. I've used my largest one on my cardstock. So on my paper, I'm going to use the medium. If I'd used my medium on my cardstock, I would use my small on my paper. So now we just need to add some tape onto our 1/2 inch pieces. So between the edge of the cardstock and our 1/2 inch score line, down the centre, we'll add our tape. So not on that score line, otherwise your adhesive will show. And along the flap as well. Now we do want all of these to lie as flat as we can. So when we're burnishing, we're going to fold it back. We're going to try and squeeze it down as hard as we can. We're going to flip it over and we're going to get it nice and flat with lots of pressure there. And before we do it on this one, let's just find my scissors. We're going to do a little mitre cut. So we're going to cut up to our cross where our score lines met and then twist it just so that when we fold them, they're not going to overlap. Let's do that again on the other side. Up to the cross. Instead of going on straight, I'm just going to cut it. So it's a much harsher angle. And now, just as before, press these over. And finish the other side as well. We want it to lie flat, not a bulge. So let's bring page 2 over. This is page 1, page 2. So we want to stick it like that. So we're going to take this off, just expose a little bit of the tape and flip it over. Now I find it easier to turn it so my corners are both at the top. I think it's just a habit I've got into. So this piece here is not sticky, it still moves, which gives me time then to move it around, make sure both these lines are straight down. And press. Now, if you saw the first video, you will know when I've got a pocket like this and I'm putting my photo mats in, I like to put some tape over that, just so that the photo mat runs over rather than trying to get in under that hinge. Then, as we do with pockets, we just pull them back. None of this is adhesive, so I can move it so it's in the right place. Hold it down, and now I can press down and pull out. I'm trying to keep it as flat as I can. And then with our hinge, our flap, I'm just going to cut off from my score line just a diagonal line, just to reduce some of the bulk. So when I add my paper, it'll just be a little bit flatter. Just see if we can get this a little bit flatter still. Expose a little bit. Turn it around so I got my corners at the top. I've got to take that bit off. Let's get the corner lined up. Here we go. And press it down. So we now have our pocket, which opens off to the left. We still have space inside to put some photo mats later on. And so now we can just decorate this piece. So because this is a 2-page spread, on the right hand side, I'm going to have an image from a bit. In my farmhouse one, I just had the same patterned paper. So both work. So let's have a think what we might want in page 3. Let's have the flamenco dancers go in that way. So that's the back page. I wonder if we've got something which will match and tie in. That would tie in nicely. And we've got that one as well, so that would really go nicely. So let's go for this one. So that's going to be off to page 3. And this is now going to be on this side here. So this 12 by 12 would be enough to go all the way across the whole thing. So if you have got a seam, like a Stamperia page, you could put it on here. Now with this Guinevere album, the way we've made it efficient for paper is, the page is 6 1/4 tall. So I reduced my paper by 1/4 inch, which means when I cut my paper at the 6 inch mark, I've got enough then that this will cover that page, but this will also cover another page. Right, so let's start our pattern going across. So this pocket is 6 inches. So I need to cut 5 3/4. Now I want to do it this way because I'm working from the right hand side. So that'll twist to there. Then I want another piece, 2 inches. There. And the flap was 2.5, so 2 1/4. So now we'll have the pattern just continuing all the way across. Probably not so obvious with this one because it's so random. So let's ink some of the edges. And on this one, I only need to do these 3. Because this 4th one will be tucked under so you don't see it. And this one, I now need to corner around the left-hand side. So before you stick these down, think about what closure you're going to be using. Because if it's something where you need to put like a magnet underneath, you'd have to do that now. But mine, I'm going to be able to stick on top, so I don't mind so much. So let's glue these down. There's the flap. And my liner. And then this. Now when we fold it over, all this is free space. So you can just leave it for a photo. You could cut some photo slots in. In the other two, I've left them as they are. But in this one, I'm going to try something different. These are the pierced photo slots or photo strips. I'll get the real name and I'll link them below. What this does is a CoolKatz die which cuts a nice long strip with 2 circles on each side with some piercing around the outside and like a little tuck spot. Now someone, and I can't remember who, so I apologise now, used these in a way I hadn't thought about, like a little diagonal. So what I'm going to do is just place that diagonally there. I sent it through my die cutting machine. Oh, and that strip is just fallen out. I do want that. And it's cut a little piece diagonally there where we can grab these, place some of these journal cards in, place a photo in, up to you. So I can take the glue around the outside, but I don't want to glue here, underneath that bit, because otherwise you're not going to be able to tuck anything in. So I want to glue around this top bit, but not the bottom. That's where your journal card slots in from the front into there. So be extra careful. Oh, I missed a bit with the glue there. So let's open it up. glue it down. Bit of excess glue there, just wipe it away. Got some there as well. It does dry clear, so I'm not too worried about it. And there we go. And it's up to you now. You can leave that black like that and really obvious. Or, which way around is it? This way? You can actually glue this back in place there and it becomes like an invisible one. So it's got a bit of glue. Just smear it down. A little bit on the wrong way. Place it down into that space again. Just put it back in. Press it down. And lift it up so that it doesn't stick onto it. And we've got a little extra tuck spot there. It's actually quite invisible. So next piece now is to decorate the front of this. So I said this should be big enough, but unfortunately it's the back of the pad. So I'm going to have a look at what other page will coordinate with it. So when we have that over this side, you've got these blues. So let's use this blue. Oh, that's a nice blue as well. No, actually, I'm going to use that for another piece later on. Let's stick to this. So I think it's going to be busy enough as it is. So again, we're just cutting it at 6 inches. So let's cut it this way. And our flap was 2.5, so it's 2 1/4. Let's take it from the flower side then. 2 1/4. So here we go. So we've got, I think we'll go that way. So we've got the flowers down that side. Again, I do need to round the corners so it matches the flap. Go. Actually, this blue is tying quite nicely in with everything. Guess the less you think about something, sometimes the better. And there we go. That's our flap with a tuck spot for some journal cards. But we need a closure. So for this one, I'm going to go, I've prepared some already, some swivel closures. Now, if you haven't seen a swivel closure before, it's made out of some folio circles from CoolKatz. They're die cut that, and they're brad swivels. Now, I do have a video where I just go over how to make swivel dies. So that'll be swivel closures. So that'll be linked in the description below for you. Just need to find my tape. Here we go. We're just going to add some tape underneath. Now the beauty of these raised swivel closures is you can decorate and add them afterwards. So if you forget to add a closure, no problem. These will save your life. So as I said, I have got a video where it's just dedicated on how to make these closures. Let's bring in, just so we evenly space it, let's come down to 2. So I'm just lining up the middle of that circle with my 2-inch mark. And I'm sticking that folio circle down, and then this it swivels. But I don't want to leave it there because it'll try and lift it up before the glue has dried. So again, that tape is holding it for now, but we've got to wait for this glue. So 4, 2, there we go. I'm just going to leave them to dry. Yep, it's 2 and 2, so they're even. They will then, once dry, look, I'm just being really gentle here. You won't need to once it's dried. I just want to move the circles. It will look like that. Let's just move them out the way. So that is page 1 and 2 complete. So I'm just going to put some stuff away and we're going to use this lovely paper and start working on page 3. So here we go, ready for page 3. Now page 3 is going to be that slider element that we've got. So it's going to be a little bit fiddly, I won't lie to you. So just take your time with this one. So let's start with putting our paper and our page to the side and cut out some of our elements. So we need that large pocket for our sliders first of all, and that is going to be cut at 8 inches. By 7.5. And then we need 2 pieces, which are going to be 5. So let me just measure them. Let me give you the correct measurement if I can find the originals. Here we go. It is, I haven't written this measurement down, just under 6 1/4. So the reason you want to go just under is if you do a 6 1/4 exactly, it's going to be exactly the same height as your pocket and won't slide in. So there's my 6 1/4, and I'm just going back, oh, less than a 16th probably. There we go. And then 5 3/8. 5, 1, 2, 3/8. And 5, 1, 2, 3/8. That's our cutting done. Let's bring our scoreboard. So with a 7.5 inch across the top, you need to score at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch and 5/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just the next slot across. And again, turn around and do the same on the other side. 1/2 and 5/8. I don't know why I made that so complicated for myself. I think I was reading a different measurement. And then, yeah, this is where the 4 3/8 were. Put your 5 3/8 across the top. Score at 4 1/4 and 4 3/8. So just the next one across. So 4 1/4 and 4 1/8. 4 3/8. The next one over. So these are those flaps which slide out. So it's a very narrow channel. So when you come to do these, it can be a bit fiddly. Remember, you don't need to burnish hard here because you're not after a flat, you're after a 90-degree angle. So just try and maneuver it back. But what you can do is use a ruler. I just tend to roll it back and then gently score it. So I'm just adding slight pressure. I'm not pressing down at all. And eventually it sort of rolls back and flat. There we go. And you'll get your narrow bit. Oh, and whilst I've got it. And I'll do the same here. So on the small side, there we go. And again, we're going to roll these over, apply some pressure, roll it back, and just sort of work it backwards. And you've got your photo mat with a little tiny hinge, a tiny spine, and a flap. And on this one, we're going to do the same. So again, we're just going to roll it back and then score it gently. There you go. And the same on this side. Back. And now I'm going to put some tape on this. And now you're going to see why we decorate our pages before putting them into our Guinevere. Because this is far easier to do when you still got your page loose like this. Let's just, to make it easier for ourselves with the sliding, let's just miter these corners again. And just up to that first score line, there we go. Okay, now you need to be careful here because you are working with that very thin edge. So you've got to remember what you're trying to line up is this bit. So I'm going to roll it back. Let's see if you can see. So it's flat with my 1/8 of an inch there. And we're going to line it in that corner. Then I'm going to line this bit flat on this side. And hopefully we'll be able to just work that bit into place. Now we're lucky with this bit because we can now go in and burnish, but we won't be able to do that when we do the bottom because what you're creating is a deep 1/8 of an inch pocket there. So we'll do the same here. I'm going to take it off both this time so I can put that piece in place. Now this time we've got that 1/8 of an inch upright, so we're working with it upright that way. So I've lined up those two. That seems quite even with me. So it's just gently taking it off and trying to keep it as straight as possible as we go across. There we go. And what we've created is a pouch, which is deep enough now to put our sliders inside. And this is why we went that little tiny bit less than your 6 1/4, because if it was 6 1/4, you would have trouble then pushing them in. And you can see, flaps lift, 4 photo mats for 6x4 photos. So let's start decorating it. So as I said, we've chosen that flamenco, and that's going to go pretty much flat there. So our pages are 6 1/4 tall, so 1/4 of an inch less. We're going to cut it at 6. Now I'm going to go through her hand. So let's take off 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And now she should be more complete. Excellent. And then our pages is 8, so I'm going back to 7 3/4. Let's just ink that edge. So you could leave that as it is, it would be lovely to see that big image. So I'm going to try and think of a way of having spaces for more photos without spoiling it. One way could be the photo slot dies. So this is the 3x4, so I could put that there. I could even do the 5x7. Or the 6x4 photo. And then you'd have space for one photo which you can take out to see the image below. Or like we did on page 2, we could add one of these little slots. And this time I'm going for the really long one. Let's bring in my ruler. Now the great thing about the CoolKatz dies is, I don't know if you've got some and noticed, but the dies have got a little notch mark. So there's a little notch there and there. And those mark where the centres are. So if you're trying to line it up, you can use the two sides. If you're lining up with something that way. But for me now, it's easier if I go back and have the centres 4. I'm going to line my notch with the 4-inch mark. So now I know it's central side from side. Just going to go through my die cutting machine. And just like I did last time, I'm going to be gluing that piece back in, so I want to poke it out. And let's have a look, where's page, oh yeah, so that's page 4 up, so it's this way up. And again, I've got to be careful where I add my glue. I need it at the top of that slot, but not underneath, because your item is going to come through here, so you need the space there unglued for them. So as much glue as you want on the top, but none here. And remember, because we've got that depth, you're actually working on a little bounce. But I wouldn't decorate before sticking on, just in case something went wrong with your decorating. When you're adding it on, you wouldn't want to waste your papers. So let's glue that back in. Oh, wrong way. This way up. Go. And I just want to get my poker tool in there just so it's not gluing down. So up to the edge, there we go, and up to the edge there. Just set that aside to dry first. Now, that's all that needs decorating on these, are these two flaps on each side. So now I've got a choice. I can go with that blue that I used from the other side, or I've got the back of that and have that floral roses going up. And I think I'm going to go for the blue. So let me just find my ruler, which I've dropped. Here we go. So these are 1-inch flaps, which means we're looking at 3/4 of an inch. Now this paper was already cut at 6 inches tall, and our flaps are 6 1/4. So I don't need to do much to them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now the medium corner rounder. And the last one. And then I'll just ink these as quick as I can. I could speed this up and I could only mat the front two that you're going to see. That would be quicker. But I think it just finishes it off if you do the back as well. So it's going to be my front pieces. And these will be my back pieces. Now, if you are using a directional paper and you've got a design that's going up and down or side to side, make sure when you come to punch them that the front ones, you've got them come in that way, and you're opening them out, they will be that way, if that makes sense. So these will go, this one will go on the left. There you go. And this will go on the right. And then these will go on the inside. And that's our two flaps which slide out. So let's have a look what it looks like. So be aware you do have two pockets here, your main pocket page and then your slider pocket. Oh yeah, I do like the blue, it does pull it in. And then they do hit, so you just need to wiggle one on top of the other. There we go. Bit of excess glue there. So obviously if I left it there, they would just slide out on their own. I could have put magnets underneath. The only problem is then if the person knows which one goes where. So if your magnet's slightly off, it is a bit changed. So what I'm going to do is a corset closure. Now you must have known one of these was going to come up eventually, and I find corset closure is good for this because it pulls the two flaps together. So corset closure is made using the folio circle dies, and it cuts a circle with a hole in the middle, and I've got a video dedicated to how to make a corset closure. So if you want to know how this was made in greater detail, then I'll link to my corset closure video in the description below, rather than making this video go on and on and on and on. And of course you could use a closure of your choice if you've got a different idea. If you do, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know some other ideas for closures. And we're just going to put the tape which will hold it for now. This glue will hold it then permanently. Just grabbing my ruler, and I'm going to be placing this and lining it up with my paper, because my paper is 6 inches wide, so it's easier to find. The 3-inch mark is there. And then I need one off to the left and off to the right. So let's do one at 1 inch. And one at 5. Of course, it depends which way your ruler is. If you're doing that way, it'll be 135. Right, let's have a look. Let's go to this side and repeat. So one in the middle. One off to the side at 5 inches and 1 inch. And the next step for this really is to let it dry. And once they're dry, we go to these for a bit drier. Get your Teflon tool, and this is a narrow bit. Get it in between the bottom base and the top, just to squeeze them down and create that space ready for the string. So that then is where your cord is going to go. So you're doing 2 jobs here. You're creating that space between, but you're also pressing that bottom circle down to adhere to the flap. And if I bring in my Savannah one, so that I can show you what we mean and what we would do then. So that's your 2 photos mats going in that side, and 2 more this side. Now with this one, I didn't seem to have a problem with the bumping in the middle, but with the other one, the farmhouse one, it did. So you just have to wiggle them in. So once those are dry, I'll tie a string to one of the corner ones. I'd wrap it around, so in between that gap we've made just now. Hang on, I've put them on back to front. You want to start at the top, of course. Of course, I'd put them in back to front. Right, this goes in here. This one goes in here. We put them in, and then, and of course, the more you make that gap, the easier this bit becomes. And then you want it to finish off on the top, either top left or top right. So either start there or there, and then, oh, I don't think I've done it tight enough. It will, or it should, just come. Which way am I tightening it? This way, this way. I'll just tighten it up a little bit more. And over the edge. So you can make that longer, shorter, up to you. So that's your corset closure. Oh, do you know what I think it is? why it's a bit shorter. It's not quite in with me. There we go. Now you'll see it. For a scary moment there, I was thinking, what have I done? There we are now. You've got a little bit dangling. So you've got room then to tuck your ephemera cards in there. And your corset closure will just keep whatever's behind there tucked in safely. So there we have page 2 and page 3 all complete, just waiting for that string. Oh, and if you noticed, I did put just 2 circles on the end, just as a little closure, a little end, a ribbon end. It's just cut out of some circle dies from the Perfect Circles by CoolKatz. And then the layering bit on top. And you just sandwich. I've got them here ready. You can pick them up, they're flat on the surface, here we are. They're just the circles, and I'll just put some tape and glue and squash them on top of the string. So thank you for watching page 2 and 3. I hope you're enjoying this series so far. Let me know what you're liking so far. Are you liking the basic page 1? Are you liking how the pockets? Are you enjoying the closures? What about the papers? And if you're going to have a little go, please share with me in my Facebook group, Paper Crafting with Paul. You could just type it into a Facebook search, or I'll add a link in the description below as well. Also, if you're using this CoolKatz ideas, share it in their Facebook group, CoolKatz. So please leave me some nice comments, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and then hit that thumbs up. Every thumbs up helps my channel to grow. So anything you can do, comments, subscriptions, and thumbs up all help. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you for page 4 and page 5 in the next video.